everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Andrea. It's nice to have you guys here. I was looking at my videos and trying to figure out what to film today, and I realized it's been a couple months since my last Fibro chat, and so I thought it might be good to do another one. I have been thinking a lot about how it's now been just a little over a year since I was diagnosed, and kind of how far I've come, but also in terms of I have made some progress. I do feel a little bit better, but then there are other areas where I don't feel much better. So things that have gotten better, I feel like I have a little bit of the mobility back. I'm definitely not spending as many days in bed as I used to, even though my desk chair, which is what I'm sitting in now, is like one of the worst things for my back. I need to get a new one. I have been sitting out here at my desk a lot more frequently. You know, I work from home, so I don't go into an office, but it's still been a bit of a struggle to find a comfortable work setup, and I used to just work in bed all the time. There were very few days in the week that I got out of bed, and now I get out of bed a lot, and I spend quite a few days not in bed, you know, working at my desk or going out to a coffee shop and working. I think a huge thing that has helped with the increased mobility is physical therapy. I mean, don't get me wrong, I definitely have my pain days. I definitely hurt most days than not, but these days I don't wake up in as much pain as I used to, if that makes sense. You know, I'll still wake up. Some days I wake up and I'm not in pain at all. Those are glorious days. But I'd still say about half the days each week, if not slightly more, I wake up with my pain maybe around a 3 or a 4, which is really good, and I'm not complaining at all. But then by like mid-afternoon, it's around 5 or 6, and by evening, it's 7 or 8, and I'm ready to get back in bed, and I'm reaching for the icy hot or for a heating pad or for an ice pack. I used to wake up pretty consistently around a 5 or a 6 on the pain scale. To not be hitting that until around the middle of the afternoon makes me pretty happy. And the pain these days a lot of times is more of a localized or isolated pain. So like right now I can feel on the insides of my shoulder blades, smack in the middle, and I can feel that. You know, I just have chronic pain there. My lower back, I can wake up and have pain there that no amount of stretching or exercises really makes it go away. The physical therapy, both the manual therapy, the kind of massage work that my physical therapist does, and the exercises combined can help that and can lessen that to a certain degree, but it doesn't get rid of it completely. Then there's also just the weird random shooting pains. You know, I'll just get a pain in my wrist that just kind of shoots up my forearm a bit, and I don't know where it comes from. I haven't done anything to my wrist, you know, but it'll be there. I'll also get that in my ankles. My knees will be more of like a swelling pain, and all of these pains can come and go, and they don't seem to be attached to any activity that I've done. It just happens. But when I was first diagnosed and before I started doing physical therapy, it was, you know, like my whole upper body would be in pain, or all the way down my legs would be in pain, and it was just kind of an all over throbbing kind of pain. So I will take the weird random localized pains any day of the week. And you know, I've found things like icy hot and heat pads and the thermacare heat wraps and things like that that can help and that can make a difference, even if it's just a temporary relief. But I at least kind of now, 1 year plus on, have found things that work and can make me feel a little bit better. I'm also learning how to read the signs that my body is giving me and how to kind of plan my day and my week around some of those pains. So if I wake up and I feel pretty good, then let's go run some errands while I'm feeling good. Let's go work out while I'm feeling good. Let's get some kind of physical activity in for the day. And even if it means I feel a little bit worse in the afternoon, I always feel better long term if I've done something each day. So, you know, I kind of pay attention to that. Whereas if I wake up and I'm just really not feeling good, okay, we're going to take it easy today, and I don't push myself. If I'd planned to go run a bunch of errands, I look further ahead in the calendar to kind of figure it out. I feel like I haven't had a full-on flare in a while, but I do feel like I've had some mini flares. I'm not sure if, and this goes back to something that I was talking about in the very first Fibro chat video I did. There we go, turning off. I do sometimes struggle a bit with knowing that my case of fibro isn't as bad as other people's, and my pain isn't as bad, the fatigue isn't as bad, although I feel like I've always struggled with fatigue slightly more than pain. So sometimes my fatigue can still be really bad, but the fatigue is easier to push through sometimes than the pain is. So I do still struggle a bit with, you know, you're not as severe as other people, so you shouldn't really complain and just, you know, get on with your life. But what I've noticed on that video is that's one of the things that you all reference and comment on the most and identify with the most. And I feel like with fibro, even now 1 year on, I can tell I'm getting, I don't want to say getting better, because it really drives me crazy when people think that there's some kind of magical cure for this. I feel like I'm learning how to manage it better, and I'm learning how to read the signs better. And so, speaking of the flares, I'm not sure if it's that my flares just aren't as severe, or if I'm learning to read the signs and signals of my body better and I'm able to kind of head off a flare before it fully develops. I feel like there've been a few times in the past, I'd say 2 or 3 months, definitely going through the whole comp exam prep period, through my comp exam, and then this last bit of the semester with preparing for the colloquy, and then, you know, working on my prospectus and all that. I feel like there have been times where I've had flares, or the beginnings of flares. I would wake up with that all over kind of achiness, really tired, really run down, brain fog, all of that, and feeling like, oh crap, here it comes. But I would pay attention to those signs, and those would be the days that I would like work in bed, or I'd let myself sleep for an extra hour or two, or I'd go to bed at 9 o'clock. And as a result of kind of taking those steps, within 2 or 3 days, I was back to feeling normal for me. And it never developed into a full flare. I mean, I've had some flares in the past, around the time that I was being diagnosed, and kind of before that, before I knew they were flares, where, you know, for a week or 2 weeks, I just was absolutely useless. And I haven't had one quite that bad. In travel flare aside, because I feel like London was its own special situation, it's probably been about 6 months. It was probably, you know, shortly before the holidays that, just as a result of my normal daily life, I just kind of developed a flare. I feel like that's pretty good, and I'm definitely learning more, you know, the importance of self-care and really paying attention to those signs and signals, and not pushing myself through it the same way that I used to. So if that's the only bit of progress I've made this year, I'm pretty happy about that, because I think that's one of the most important things that those of us dealing with any kind of chronic illness have to learn, is really how to pay attention to the messages our body is sending us. And it's going to be different for everyone, so everyone's learning process is different, and it's not something that, you know, I can like give you a step-by-step advice of how to do it, or I can't watch someone else share their steps, because all of our bodies are different, and our signs and signals are different, and what we need to do is different. I think that's, if I were to give advice to someone newly diagnosed, you know, something that I've learned in the first year of kind of really researching fibro and kind of making it make sense in my own life. It's you really do that research and really pay attention to what your body is telling you. It's easy to feel like your body is betraying you and to blame your body for the pain. I kind of have had to see it from the perspective of there's something else inside my body that is attacking both me and my body. And my body doesn't want to deal with this either. Like, we're in this fight together kind of a thing. So my body is telling me things every day about how it's feeling and what it needs. It needs more water, it needs some ice, it needs some heat, it needs some rest, it needs an extra hour or two of sleep, it needs to go to bed at 10 o'clock instead of midnight tonight. Really learning how to pay attention to those signals and learning how to see my body as an ally in this than as the enemy. Kind of thinking of the enemy as being something else within my body has been really helpful, because it's really easy to feel like your body is betraying you, and I kind of feel like that's not the most productive thought process. If your body is the enemy, your body's always going to win, kind of a thing. But if you can see the enemy as the fibro enemy being something separate within the body, and you and your body are an ally fighting it together, I honestly think that's been the biggest thing that's helped me. I think another thing that I've learned in this past year is the importance of community and the importance of finding other people who are going through a similar battle and who understand what you mean when you talk about brain fog or weird random pains that pop up from out of nowhere, or feeling like you just can't get out of bed in the day. Having a community and people who understand what you're feeling and what you're going through, that has been such a huge benefit, to have someone that I can message on Instagram or Twitter and say, oh my gosh, I feel like hell today. And they can say back, I know what you mean. And you know that they know what you mean. It's just nice to have that validation and to have that understanding and that compassion from people who do know what you're talking about and who believe you when you say that you're in pain, and don't necessarily jump in with a ton of advice unless you ask for it, but instead will jump in with hugs and kindness, even if they're of the digital, virtual kind. So that's been kind of the second biggest thing that I've learned. And this video has gotten a bit rambly, so I think I'll stop with those two. Those have definitely been the two biggest lessons that I've learned. How to really pay attention to my body and how to see my body as an ally in this fight and in this struggle rather than as the enemy. And to reach out and find a community of people on Instagram, on Twitter, here on YouTube, and learn how to kind of really lean on them for support and help and, you know, that validation and compassion that I think we're all looking for when we're dealing with this. Those have definitely been my two big takeaways from this past year. And two of the things that I think contribute to how, you know, now a little over a year after being diagnosed, I do feel like I'm feeling better now than I have in the past few years. I'm still not feeling great. I've still got a long way to go. I feel like there are still things that I can do to help myself and some changes that I still am working on making, but they're slow changes and it's a process. But I feel like even in those, I do see myself making progress, so that's good. Progress is good. So yeah, if you found this because it's titled Fibro Chat, and you're also dealing with fibro, welcome. I hope you'll stick around, say hi in the comments. I love meeting new fibro friends. If you're one of my other friends who's just watching because you watch my videos, thank you. Thank you for listening, because that's, I think, for my biggest advice for people who don't have fibro but have a friend who does, or have a friend who has any kind of chronic illness. The biggest advice I give to those people is listen. Even if you think you've got all the advice in the world, if it's not being asked for, don't give it. Just listen. That's what your friend probably needs the most, is someone to listen. So thank you to my friends for always listening to me. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. I love having new people join the channel and having that circle kind of grow. I will see you all very soon in the next video. Thank you for watching this one, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.